Welcome to The Real Build.
You leave this world behind, so live a life you will remember.
Welcome to The Real Build. I'm your host, Bill Reiman, your broker builder, and today I got another amazing guest on the show. She is the co-owner of KohlerHaus Remodeling with over a decade of experience in real estate investment, portfolio management, and residential remodeling project coordination. She is passionate about empowering others to live intentionally and build a family legacy of abundance. Her commitment to integrity, craftsmanship, and attention to detail has made her a respected figure in the real estate and remodeling industry. And today we dive into her journey and about creating this remodeling brand that she has. Amber Boskers, welcome to The Real Build. How you doing today?
I am doing fabulous. Thank you so much for the invitation. I am very excited to be here to talk to you.
I'm excited to have you on. You and I already kicked it off with a great discussion before the podcast even started that I wish I recorded. So we're going to get into that a little bit. But before we talk about you, your company, how it all started, let's talk about who you are. Who's Amber Boskers?
I am a wife of 22 and a half years to an amazing lineman, and I'm a mother of two. I'm a real estate investor. As you mentioned, I'm a co-owner of a residential remodeling business, and I help people, like you said, live with intention, but also focus on creating financial safety net for their families. And I'm the kind of person who's like a perpetual optimist, where no matter what the situation, I know there's good that will come from it. And 4 years ago, my husband had a near fatal work accident. I was a stay-at-home mom to our children. He works in the lineman trade. You know, he does the storm restoration from the hurricanes and the storms that hit America. And of course, you know, in my mind, nothing's ever going to happen to him. Why would it? Just one of the 10 most dangerous jobs in America. But we got a phone call, and it wasn't a we, it was I. I got the phone call. And so it was like this, everything changes. And that experience of having to fly to another state, to not knowing the condition of my husband, you know, everything stops. And we had established a rental portfolio that I was managing. He was working and doing his amazing work and helping people around the world, or around America here. And I was managing our household and our real estate investments and our portfolio. And it was that portfolio of passive income that carried us through nearly a year of him not being able to work. And so now I've taken that and I've created a course, and it's just, I want to help people prepare for the unexpected. And whether it's through real estate investing, whether it's through investing as a whole, whether it's through business acquisitions, you know, forcing appreciation in their homes, whatever it is to build the wealth, to have that security is now my mission.
I love that. And shout out to your husband too. Thank you to him, because that job is not easy too. He does you know, that those guys deserve a lot of gratitude for what they do too, especially for what we were just talking about, the hurricanes we go through and so on. So, but as far as you in getting into the construction side of things, talk about your story a little bit of how that progressed into getting into the remodel side. Obviously, you've been in a few different things with real estate investing, I think insurance I saw, and so on too. So, talk about the construction side and what led you into that.
The construction opportunity presented itself from years of being involved with the real estate investing community. And I was part of a group of people that we were sharing our journey as with an accountability group. And we would show up every week and we would, you know, move the chains forward. And from there, I developed friendships with people who would also show up. And just over the years of that connection building, trust, you know, it's that friendship that's developed. But then I also know what those people are involved in. I know who's showing up. I know what they're doing. I know the kind of character they have. We've spent years on Zoom, but it ended up being friendships. And one of those women, she called me up. We had just over the years kept in touch and met for lunch, and, you know, just things of just to keep the relationship going and to check in with each other. But she called me up and she's like, Amber, you know, I have this deal. I really want to buy this business. And we had talked about it earlier on a couple months previously. And oh, yeah, it was a home run. She's like, I need a partner. She's in Texas. The business is in Tampa. She needed a local partner in order to satisfy the SBA requirements. And I said, absolutely, let's do this. So she called me in August, and then we ended up expediting things and we closed in December. So we have just celebrated our first year in business as
Nice.
the new owners of this existing business. And KohlerHaus had been operating in the Tampa area for 10 years. It was an owner operator, general contractor who was retiring. And so she had poured into this. Kohler was her last name. And she built her business on her quality and integrity and craftsmanship and her reputation. No advertising
Wow.
whatsoever. And it was old school. She had her system set up the way it was great for her. But in terms of looking at it as an opportunity to scale and grow, we knew we needed to implement more people, more technology, and a wider variety of services. So my business partner and I came in and we've been on a roll ever since. It's been wild, but it's so rewarding to be able to help people and to give just to empower people to go through the experience of remodeling their homes. I mean, coming from my perspective, I was hiring the contractors for my real estate flips, and I was
Mhm.
managing our projects to remodel the homes. And so it was frustrating at times when you're trying to find reliable construction workers, when you're
Yeah.
trying to find really good contractor, great communication, somebody can seize the vision and you feel comfortable with them. And so this is what we get to do. Not only do we get to service our community, but we get to help educate homeowners in the process, whether they work with us or not, it doesn't matter. We're giving them the tools to use to apply to the next person, to the next contractor. And then also we are servicing a segment of the population of real estate investors. And there's a lot of them, but there's also a lot of women investors, especially in this market. And so now we're adding another element to be able to offer reliability and trust and quality craftsmanship to their projects and to their homes.
Talk about I read a stat too, and I know you're after reading up on you and women in construction, and obviously I love seeing more and more women get into construction too, and we have women on our staff as well, and they're powerhouses. I mean, I have one that does my warranty, and I call her Pitbull. She's awesome. She's on stuff, she's on top of everything. She's the subs respect her. She's just awesome. She's from Long Island. She's got the accent. She's just rough and tough, and she gets things done too. And my selections coordinators are all. It's just there needs to be more women in construction. I think that it's about 14% of the construction workforce now is women. So talk about you guys being women owners in the field, and what you've been facing or in what you've been doing to get more women involved. And you just mentioned too, another thing is there's a lot of women investors out there now, which is awesome to hear too. So talk a little bit more about that.
It's been a great experience so far. Because the previous owner was a woman, she had already planted herself in this community. And through being here for so long, it's just the reputation was what carried us through initially. And then I'm a social person, so I like plugging myself into areas where we can get more exposure. So I go to the meetups for real
Mhm.
estate. I go and I just talk to people, and I'm not scared to talk to people. I've been in the real estate space for a long time. I'm used to being one of the few women in the lineups to go to the conferences, to attend the events. I have no issues talking to strangers. And it's really cool because we end up just through general conversation, you see that there's this need and people are interested in different things. Like our team is not all women. We have a lot of women, but we have a lot of men too. And we're all in this together.
Mhm.
So there's enough work for everybody, there's enough space for everybody, but we just are really open to encouraging others and supporting other women business owners doing what they do. So, we are designers, we have our different tile and our countertop companies. Some of them are women owned, a lot of them are women owned. And we're just opening the door to be able to invite those vendors that may not think that they have a shot to come and talk to us. And if we can't satisfy them or have them on a particular job, then we know other people that we can refer them to. It's really about lifting everyone up and sharing the business, but doing it together. We've been very blessed because I have not experienced any kind of adversity with respect to men, women, or anything like that. And I think this industry, where we're at right now, there's cohesion from everyone. And so you're not looked down upon because of who you are.
Hmm.
It's like, okay, what
Hmm.
can we do to tackle this project? We need the expertise from people of variety of backgrounds. And so it doesn't matter. And I think it's taken a while to get there, but it's really exciting because people will come up to me and be like, hey, who are these people? Like, who's KohlerHaus? Who's this fresh face? Because I do find that there's a space for more younger people to come in, men or women. It's just there's almost like an aging population with the expertise and the construction basis. They've been there for such a long time. I can see, with this, how it's so trendy with these businesses buying businesses, and you see the older generation moving out because they've owned these businesses for a long time. I see it. I see it especially in construction. You
Hmm.
have these long timers who've been here forever. This is their life, and they don't have the family members to take over it, or they may not have employees that want to step into it. And so there's needs there. And so we're also putting out there, hey, if you're looking to sell your business, let's have a conversation
Hmm.
because we're not in this by itself. And why not just continue to add our resources to be able to help more people?
I
I'm
love that.
always for teamwork. And you kind of feel when you're in a space, if the energy is not right with male or female, it doesn't really matter. You're going to move on to the next person to find a cohesive, collective, collaborative effort. And you can just tell those people are placing themselves in positions, they're open with their communication, they're encouraging, welcoming, and like it's not like a gatekeeper. I don't know if you've experienced a lot of that in the past where there's certain people that have the knowledge and they're not willing to share it, and they're
Hmm.
not willing to like extend an invitation to somebody else. um it's really different now, and so I'm very grateful to be in the space at this time to be able to offer resources and encouragement and support the business as a whole, the industry as a whole. And while we're doing that, we're also raising the standard. So, the bar is kind of low. I don't know. Like Florida may be particularly bad with, contractors taking people's money and
I think
taking
it's
off.
everywhere.
And
Yeah.
it's really disheartening to see people save up for a really long time in order to do renovations on their homes. And then just to have that experience, we're like, no, this things have to change. And we need to do it together as an industry, not just one business owner at a time or one business at a time.
I can I can tell your passion big time. What that was amazing. Everything you said right there, I highly agree. And it is sad. I mean, the industry is full of there's a lot of people there's a lot of scammers out there. I mean, I have a builder in my local market that scammed a lot of people, ended up getting chased out, left for a while. I think it's been a few years now, and now he's back, rebranded his name, changed the name of the building company, but has his name on top of it. And I'm like, is this guy really back doing this again? Like, and people are going to fall for it all over again because it's a new name. They don't know.
Yeah.
And it's not like you can go out there in the streets and he'll sue you for slander or whatever it is. But um, it's just sad, and there's so much of it going on out there too. And one thing I like that you said too is that you're willing to share your knowledge. And I agree with you. The old school approach was my dad was this way. He's like, we don't want to tell them our secrets. They don't need to know what we're doing. I have a whole podcast of 200 and something episodes sharing exactly what I'm doing. Like any of my competition can go on there and be like, "Oh, that's what he's doing," and but the difference is they're not me, they're not you, and that's where we're different. And they're not willing to share either. I mean, they're not doing the things that we're doing. They're not sitting here on a podcast right now sharing knowledge and trying to help people figure out what to look for in these industries, right? So I love that about you. And As far as women being in construction too, I think you're a powerhouse and that I think you're going to bring a lot more women in construction and men and younger people too, because I do agree the younger generation, which we have a lot of younger guys that work with us now too. Um, Once they're in it and they get in it and they learn the trades and they start being involved, they love it, and it's and I think construction is looked down upon in some ways because it's so hard work, and a lot of kids they say last this generation they want to be on computers and stuff like that, and but I think that's changing because there's a lot of opportunity in this industry. I mean, they're always going to need plumbers. You're always going to need electricians. And you are right. There's a lot of older demographic now that are still doing it and they're on the way out. And so that creates a lot of opportunity in it.
Yeah, absolutely. And houses aren't going anywhere. They may
Yeah.
be rebuilt, but then those are potential clients later on. So whether it's condos, homes, multifamily, apartments, like townhouses, it doesn't matter. These are our potential clients. And so we're here to help them out, to guide them to different resources. If it's something offering that we don't do, or it's really specific, then we're happy to share and to guide them to other resources. And just to give them, like I said, it's that empowerment, it's education, it's helping them to be more assertive as owners and to really protect themselves from being taken advantage of. 'Cause we want to bring the whole thing with us too is we want to make sure that this is a positive experience. I mean,
Yeah.
like any business interaction, we're not about the transactional component. This is relational. These are people opening their doors, their homes to us to transform their home where they live. This is where they do their life. And so we want to make it as positive as possible because we're part of their story. We're part of their family for Christmas and kitchen and around the table, right? Like this is a big deal.
Hmm.
So it's not only the trust component, but it's the long lasting impact component. And it's bringing the vision that they've had for a long time to life. So they restore this house or they reinvigorate their kitchen to a space that they've always wanted. And it's
Hmm.
really fulfilling to be able to do that for our clients.
I think people, and that's why with this show too, people need to hire people like yourself that are more passionate about what they're doing, and that's what I'm trying to educate people on too, is I can, like, with your passion on exactly everything you just said, as far as this is where people spend their holidays, their times with their families. It's that's what you're creating, right? And it's not just a transaction with you. It's a relationship that you're building. And I talk about that all the time with us. Like I go out to dinner with my clients all the time. They're friends. Like, we're hosting a big client event coming up and getting them all together too. Like, we don't hide anything from our clients because we have no reason to. But there's builders that don't even talk to their clients and they don't even, it's just a transactional relationship. That's it, on to the next. And that's not what we're creating as a company. And the same with you too. And I wanted to get into that a little bit so people realize the importance of that when interviewing remodelers, interviewing builders, interviewing people is, you know, me sitting here, I can tell how passionate you are, and you were talking about how optimistic you are when before the show when we were talking about the hurricanes, which we can get into on there too. It's just we need more of that in construction. There's
Yes.
not a lot of people that have a smile on their face and want to create relationships and not just transactional relationships.
Yes, exactly. And it's about building the connection. You know that full well.
Hmm.
You've maintained that some of your clients were probably either friends beforehand or you knew of them and maybe even not. Just the experience of interacting with you and your team has made them feel like, yeah, I want to be around these people.
Hmm.
These are my people. And it was almost like, it just continues to grow because we're pouring into them, we're pouring into their project, we care for them as people, not clients. It's family. Everything's family. And so that's why I'm excited to grow our family. And with whatever connection we have, whether the family member comes and goes, they're still family, you know. And what's really cool too is like because I'm relatively new to the Tampa area, only been here for 3 years. I just love to dig into Tampa history. And so if, we've got a client in Hyde Park, historic Hyde Park. I love geeking out and about learning about the community, about the houses, about the styles of the houses. And it's just, you're bringing value because you're bringing some stories to them that they may or may not know. And it
Mm,
actually opens up more conversation and more connection. My interests are growing into the restoration and preservation of older buildings. And so when you go and service homeowners in certain areas, these areas have a history. And some of these homes are reaching their centennials. And so it's really exciting to see, hey, this house is still intact. This house is doing
mhm,
amazing. And you're giving your house a new porch for its 100-year birthday, right? It's adding that component to just make them feel like, hey, this is special. This is really cool. Where you live is really cool. Did you know about this stuff going on in this community and this going on in and it's just adding more because it's not just, hey, we're showing up to give you a bid, right?
mhm.
We're adding value and educating them. And yeah, it's really exciting. The history here is mysterious and fascinating all at the same time. And you could be a couple blocks away from this really exciting experience. So yeah, like I said, I start geeking out. I love his cigar factories, and that's one of the things that we're trying to do with the investment side. I'm looking to acquire the old buildings, such as like a vacant cigar factory, so that my team can come in and we can do an adaptive reuse to build into condos. So this is just something that I have an eye on, and it blends the whole passion for construction, remodeling, and then also the historical component of my community.
That's awesome. There's like, and I agree with you. Like we talked about, I was in Tampa for a while. There's always something going on, always something different, and it's a thriving city. I love that area, and I've always said to my wife too, if we ever expand and go further, I'd live in that area in a heartbeat again, because it's so, or I should say when we expand, because that's the plans in the future here. But yeah, I love that too. I wanted to talk to you too about you've said it's frustrating, obviously, when hiring good contractors. That's kind of the experience you went through of just finding good ones too. So in your world, just so for people listening, what should they really be looking for a good remodeling contractor? Because obviously, like we talked about before the show, there's a lot of stuff that happened with the hurricanes recently this year. And people are constantly looking for remodel companies, but there's a lot of people screwing people. It happens in my area too with Hurricane Ian. There's a lot of people that got screwed, their money taken, and they were left with jobs that weren't finished too. Our contractors would take a big deposit and then not show up. It happens all the time with these storms, especially with storm chasers, people that come out of the woodworks and come down and they just abuse people. Um,
Yeah.
so what advice would you give somebody, regardless whether it was after a storm or just going into remodeling in general? What should they be looking for a remodeling contractor?
Background research on the company is really important.
Okay.
You can get a referral from your neighbor or somebody in the line at this grocery store, and they can give you a business card. You don't know anything about that person. So absolutely do some research. Try search their license information on the state site to see if they're in compliance, if they're licensed. They're supposed to be licensed. You need them to be licensed just in case something goes wrong. But even that won't ensure that you're going to get good communication or quality craftsmanship. But that's step one. Step two, um, make sure that, like I said, you do the background research. Do they have a website? Can you see postings of jobs that they have done? And then, you reach out to them. How's their communication? Are they getting back to you within 24 hours? Are you leaving a message? Are you calling back multiple times over several days? And then when you get a call back, do they seem really busy? Are you like a inconvenience? How are they treating you? Are they like stopping and asking you questions about your job, getting more details? It's People need to be treated as though they're family. That's
Mhm.
for me anyways. I appreciate people who are busy. That's a good thing. But then in the same sense, if I'm just an afterthought, I don't want to feel like an afterthought. I want to feel like I'm important and that my job, whatever the scope may be, is important for the contractor. So when the person comes to give an estimate, it's talking them some more. It's asking if you can talk to references. We've had clients that are doing that now because the transition from the other owner, the previous owner to us, now we're new faces. And so they're like, hey, can we have some references for people that have worked that you've worked with for over the last 3 months, 6 months? Absolutely. So you need to be able to dig a little bit to really find out who this person is, particularly if you've got no connection with them at all,
Mm.
or the person that referred you to them actually has never hired them. That being said, every relationship is always a little different. So one person can have a stellar relation, like a business exchange, and then the next person maybe something was off. I don't know, but it's important to interview them, check their background, ask for references, check for their licensing information. And then if the field is right, you could have all those boxes checked, and yet you feel that there's some sort of off with the chemistry.
Hmm.
These people are coming into your home, right? And
Mm.
so you want to make sure that you are comfortable with them or with the owner. Sometimes it's the owner that's coming to do the estimate. Sometimes it's a team member that's coming to do the estimates. But overall, you need to be able to be comfortable with every touch that you get through the experience, through your client experience.
I love that. One thing I wanted to ask you off of that is, what about the price-driven people? Because I always like to ask contractors this and how you deal with that when their top of mind is just price. And a lot of the time too, those price-driven people end up getting hurt some kind
Oh,
of
yeah.
way, whether it's the quality goes down, they don't show up, they don't, and a lot of people are commonly constantly falling for that. And I'm not saying everybody that's low priced isn't going to fully show up. I mean, there's the rare ones that show up and they just lose their butts on the project and they end up probably eventually not having a business. I've seen it in our area. You've probably seen it in your area many times. And especially now as things have gotten busier. So, how do you deal with that? I'm always curious to how other contractors deal with that. And on your side of things, as far as remodeling, somebody that's just so price driven, how do you get around that?
We get around that actually with at the beginning through the first one or two phone calls with our team. And based on the questions that are asked by our customer service people, we'll be able to determine what's the motivation and what really the underlying thing is. If they're looking for, "Hey, I'm just getting a small project and, I want to make sure we can do it really cheap." Okay, cheap is fine, but there's projects that we have a certain price point, and then there's other projects where we may know people or, given the flooding situation, we are open to helping everybody.
Hmm.
Um, it's asking the qualifying questions and building the relationship, the conversation with the homeowner to determine where they're at. And you can kind of tell because there's words that come up, the feel is just different.
Yeah.
So I'm all about feeling. I don't take the calls, but I do talk to real estate investors and there are lots of them that are like money focused. This is all about
Hmm.
bottom line. And I'm like, I'm not interested in working with you.
Yeah.
This isn't what KohlerHaus stands for. We're here for quality and craftsmanship. We may not be the most expensive, but we're
Hmm.
absolutely not the least expensive. And we have a business to run. So we're not looking to cut corners and to do it cheap. We're looking to do it very well.
Hmm.
That's part of our reputation. And so every homeowner has that option. Do you want to do it cheap or do you want to do it very well? Because the price of very well is not cheap.
Yeah.
It's the investors. I'm a little tainted when it comes to that because you hear them a lot. And it's like they're not looking to help a person. It's the bottom line that's driving them. And I'm like, that rubs me the wrong way because
Yeah.
that's not why we're here. It's not about making money. It's not about the cheapest thing. It's about helping people. It's about leaving an impact. It's about doing quality work that people are going to talk about because it's so well done. It's
Hmm.
like, you know, so there's no real set way because there can be exceptions to the rule. You can only do your best by taking the initiative and being proactive in researching these people that you're calling to invite to your home. Pay attention to your intuition. If something doesn't feel right, you can't explain why. Okay, move on to the next contractor.
Yeah, I highly, highly agree. Like listening to you sounded just like myself, so it was spot on to everything I say, deal with too. I don't work with many investors. The reason being is they most of them don't want to pay our price. They want a bottom line, beat you up, and they want to undercut quality to make as much money as possible. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't understand that when they go to buy those houses that there's not a lot to them, you know, and there's missing and behind the walls they're missing things and they're cutting costs as many places as they possibly can. And that's where I feel like it's my job to educate on what a higher standard looks like and house looks like as well. So I love what you said there too, because it is when people are very price driven, I'm the same way. Like we're not going to cut our cost. We're not the cheapest, but we're not the most expensive. But we're not going to cut costs because we over deliver premium product, and we have a relationship with you after from even after the warranty. We don't just say, well, warranty's up, see you later, and it's every customer. I still have clients that I've taken care of, and I've said this on the show a few times. I had one where I just replaced all the tile on their back pool deck out of our pocket just because it wasn't done right the first time. And unfortunately, fortunately, but unfortunately, I couldn't go. We fired that tile company a while back, so I couldn't go back on them because they installed it improperly. So I had to eat the cost. But doing those things, those going that extra mile where most builders won't, that client's always going to remember that and be like, wow, yeah, they didn't have to do this, like, and they did it for me. So I love that about you. I want to talk a little bit too about your process, like what people should expect. Like if let's say they did sign up with you too, because I think more and more people need to understand construction processes and because it's very vague. Everybody's kind of different, but with your company and obviously overperforming and doing the right thing too, I want them to hear the listener of what they should expect going into a remodel with you. So how's that kind of start to finish operate?
Well, let's say somebody's calling in, they've heard of us, or they've checked our website out. A lot of it's referrals. So they'll
Mm,
call us up and then our salesperson will ask them basic questions. Then we'll schedule an estimate. And our salesperson is phenomenal. She looks very young, but she's been in the industry a very long time. All of us are, we all look young. So people are like, how long have you been doing this for? Combined, we have an extensive amount of experience, but we're younger and we're very energetic. So, anyways, our estimator will come into the home, get the full scope, take the measurements, and then like it's usually a 1 to 2 hour appointment. And so we're going full in, depending on the scope of the project. Let's say it's a whole house or a kitchen and a bathroom. It's something quite significant and it's getting the feel of what the customer wants. Our salesperson also works in, she has a business where she does the countertops and cabinets. And so it's really exciting because she's got the design aspect and she loves the design. And so she will be able to take what the clients are explaining and turn it into actually what they want. A lot of them, they have their inspiration from HGTV or from I
hmm.
don't know, from Pinterest, and our team can bring that out. If the project is very large, we also partner with a variety of different designers that can come in and can give the 3D, 2D, or 3D renderings for our clients. So then it takes them through another step of like, oh yeah, this is really going to look amazing. And we do the bid. The bid gets sent out. There'll probably be a little bit of back and forth just to tweak things a little bit. If when the client signs, then they put down a 10% for the deposits. Excuse me, they put down a 10% deposit, and then we work into the material phase. And so here, sometimes they have a designer, sometimes they're working with our designer, sometimes they just know. So they're able to make their decisions in terms of the materials, but we ensure that all the materials are ordered before we even before we start our project. and then not only ordered, but they arrive. So we're not going to be tearing a house apart and just waiting 6 weeks for the tile to arrive. So structuring the time is very important.
Hmm.
And then we actually break down our building a little differently than most. And so we make it more convenient for our clients to once the project starts, they're billed every week instead of just the thirds or however the typical type of construction company works. We felt like it was a better in our better interest. Excuse me, I can't speak. We're going to reset that here. It was in our best interest, but also our client's best interest to break down the payments so it's more practical and more affordable. So
Mm.
instead of a massive $20,000, $50,000 bill, they're getting it broken down over the duration of our project. So it's a lot easier for everybody. But anyways, they do that. And then so we're in our material selection. That's all been done. And then we have a pass over to our projects now. We're going into our construction phase where we have the introduction to our construction supervisor with our project manager. Sometimes I come up and I will meet the clients as well. And so this kickoff where we go through what we're doing. They get their sheets of what the project scope is. They get a folder with all of the information, the timeline, the types of tiles they're selecting, the materials, the names of them, and then they see what the next steps are and then who their point of contact is because we're switching it over from our sales and design people over to our now construction team. And so now this team will see them to the end and they've got a particular person, a point of contact that they can talk to regarding any questions, concerns, or what have you. And then we give them updates during the duration of the project. And then we have a final wrap up where we will also have a photographer come and take pictures. So it's a full experience for our clients.
What about, do you do a warranty phase and all that too after the all that? Once
Yes,
you wrap
depending
up.
on what we've done, they've got warranties for a certain amount of work. And then a lot of times we don't hear from them for a long time. And then if they do, they always seem to call us because it's like they know us and they know how
Yeah,
we take care of them. So if something small comes up or whatever, we get calls years later. But
that's
our
awesome.
warranty, we haven't had any warranty issues, which for this first year, it's great. So
That's
we just pride
awesome.
ourselves in ensuring that we do a good job for our clients. And yeah, the warranty is that's part of our guarantee with our contract. And we've just been fortunate enough to not have to actually worry about anything like that.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's a lot of credit to you guys too, right there. We have a similar attitude where we want to know punch list type attitude when we're building a home, and it's very vigorous what we do and go into as far as like punching out homes and so on, but we want perfection. That's the thing. And as they're living there, little things might pop up, but little things are fine. We don't want major things where we have subcontractors in there after the fact working and saying, and they're not finished with something. So
Yeah.
that's awesome to hear with what you're doing too, and that people should definitely take that into consideration when hiring somebody that remodels too, because it a lot of stuff is left undone, and that's unfortunate too. One thing, what's some common mistakes people make though when hiring a remodeler, do you think? I want to kind of go that direction too, because obviously we're saying what to look for. So what are some common mistakes they're making, do you think, when hiring a remodeler and that they should avoid?
Well, some of them just don't know what they don't know. And so they're trusting
Mm,
the unfortunately, they're trusting the general contractor too much.
yeah.
They think I'm not even sure what they think. I feel like they just don't know. So they don't know how to be treated properly. They don't know what it means to really understand their contract. Like sometimes they're getting these 1 or 2 page contracts that are super vague. There's not a lot of detail in them, and they trust that this is going to take care of themselves and
Yeah.
their assets protected. Um, Asking questions about timeline, like some people are just so eager to get the new client to get the deposit that realistically, okay, now they've paid the deposit, but actually their project's not going to start for another 6 months. Or it's just understanding the whole process on how this contractor works. And some of them, how they work is not going to be conducive to the homeowner. Like, okay, we're going to have a team come in when they can. And oh, your tile's not in. Well, we just have to wait. And then the communication falls off. And then what happens? These clients are just stuck. So what they're doing wrong is they're just trusting too much and they're not knowing enough. And that's
Mm,
why we really try to stress research, understanding this team, their process, what they do, where their experience is. And, also you're talking to people around who have had the remodeling experience or experience with a general contractor. Um, I'd even do a lot of like research just online to be like, hey, what should I know? What should we do?
yeah.
Because it's frustrating because when they've signed a contract, well, they do have a right to actually end the contract. Many of them don't know that. So they
Mm,
just continue on being mistreated or neglected, and their calls aren't being answered, the job's not being done, and they don't know where to turn. But they have rights as a homeowner and as part of this contract. If the contractor isn't fulfilling the terms of the contract, then there's a way to cease and desist, so to speak. But if the contract isn't very thorough and it doesn't have these conditions, doesn't state what happens if there's a disagreement, what happens if there's a price change, what about these change orders? How is the payment structured? If the contract's not specifying that, then how are you to expect how the process is going to go? So I really value in-depth contracts because it gives the customer an understanding as to where they fall. And hey, they've got rights here too. This is an agreement between two parties. This is how
mhm.
we, as KohlerHaus Remodeling Co., this is how we are going to treat you, and this is how we're going to take care of you during this process. But if at any time something isn't aligning properly, well, then we're here to make it right. We're here to walk it through. If somehow there's some sort of disagreement, then okay, let's talk about it, and then we'll work it, make it so we can make it right. But even sometimes they don't even know who they're supposed to talk to because the general
Yeah.
contractor may be the individual who's come and done the estimate, but they're obviously not the workers that are showing up at the. And then sometimes there's a communication barrier where the client sees a problem, she or he can't communicate that with the worker because of a language barrier. How is this going to get resolved? So the key is understanding the roles and responsibilities, the expectations are laid out in the contract, and then to ensure that there's a definite open flow of communication. Who's that point of contact if you have any problems, if you have any questions? How soon are they going to get back to you if you leave a message? What, like it's understanding the process. And I'd rather have more information than not enough information because it gives me more comfort as a homeowner going through the experience.
I think people need to stress the communication. They need to, exactly everything you said, they need to look into things more. A lot of people just sign a contract and they don't really read it. I mean, they may send it to an attorney. I have a lot of that. Ours has been to like every attorney all around here, but and they always change like a couple words, they got to get paid. So but it's we sit down with them at the signing of the contract to go through it actually and make sure they understand everything. But another thing too, I think more people should do is ask to go see projects,
Yeah.
and see actually ones that are under construction, not just finished work. Because that way, like if I was interviewing you to remodel my home or my condo, whatever it is, like I can see how the job site looks. Is it clean? Is it operating? Is there even subcontractors there the day you take me? Is there people working? Is because there's a lot of construction sites that are just a mess. It's like a bomb
Yeah.
went off, and that shows a lot about the contractor to me personally. Like I just did a video yesterday. I haven't launched it yet on clean job sites because we're known for that. I mean, we have signs out front, keep it clean. We had like, and everybody that goes into our sites is like, man, I've never seen one so clean. It's just how we've always been. But I think people need to do more of that as more legwork. We talked about the pricing side of things, and obviously that's a big part of it, but it can't just be that. It has to be the things you just spoke about. It has to be more research, more, like family is huge with us too. I say the exact same stuff as you. That's why I like having you on here because I can tell you're great at what you do because you have the same, you have a lot of passion like me about the industry and just doing it the right way and actually showing what the right way is and teaching people what the right way is because there's so much bad in this. And I mean, there's a lot of good too, but people don't see the good. They're burnt. Um, I deal with a lot of second built homes, third built homes. I mean, you're dealing with a lot of snowbirds in your area too, where they're wanting to renovate their condos. They have a home up north and they've been burnt up there. And basically, they're coming into the process scared without trust. And we have to work to gain that trust. And it's a lot harder because they've already been burnt once. So they have it in the back of their head. They don't trust contractors at all. Right.
Yes.
So,
Yeah. And it's it's more than that. It's taking care of those clients and then also taking care of the surrounding community. Some of the little things that we do, like when we have an upcoming demo coming, we'll send flyers out to the surrounding neighbors and introducing ourselves, letting them know that, hey, there's a project coming. We're going to be adding
mhm.
more traffic. It's going to be a little bit noisier. If you see anything you'd like to talk to us about our team, if we're doing something wrong, or if you just want to say, hey, we're grateful for you guys, give us a call. So they know they have a point of
That's cool.
contact before we even start that, hey, we're coming. And then at least we've actually had calls and people are actually very grateful for that. They're like, you know what? Nobody's done that before. And it's not, it's just to know that we care for them too. And we know that there is an impact when it comes to construction. It's kind of messy. And so we're going to do our best to ensure that, especially when you've got townhouses where the doors are very close, we have a cleaning crew that comes to make sure that the neighbors' houses are, the drywall has been, the dust has been swept up and we're wiping down their walkway and just to ensure that, hey, they're in a construction zone too, technically, but we want to make sure that they're taken care of as well. And it's those little things that matter. And like with respect to the end of the project, we have a photographer that comes in, but then we create these little photo books for our clients too. And it's like, here, this is your memory of the before and after, and we're just grateful
That's
to
cool.
be able to be part of it. And here's your finished look by a professional photographer, which is kind of fun. So
That's cool.
I don't know, it's about being memorable in a good way and giving them a good experience so they want to go and share that with others. And it's not just for us to get business, but it's for us to make that positive mark on them.
That's awesome. I love it. This has been amazing. I want to wrap up with some personal questions. I always ask this question to everybody on this show. Get a great answer every time. So no pressure. Uh, so what about you personally? You're building an amazing company and obviously your brand continues to grow each and every day. So what lessons have you learned throughout your journey that we should all apply to our own business or lives that can help us grow?
The first thing is always place yourself in rooms where you don't think you belong,
Mm,
because really exciting things happen when you do that. And we are our own worst enemies some days. And so we need to encourage ourselves and love ourselves enough to put ourselves in places where we can be of value to other people, learn from other people, and that doors of opportunity can open because we're there.
mm. And once again, another great answer. I highly agree with you. I mean, it's getting comfortable being uncomfortable, putting yourself in situations you don't really want to be in, but then getting surrounding yourself with better people.
Yeah.
That's the thing. That's what's going to create growth. So love that. Another question I always ask, obviously we talked about your past. Let's talk about the future. Where will we see Amber in 10 years from now, 15 years from now? Who will you be?
Amber will be traveling the world, looking at old buildings and seeing ways that we can like I'll be like just in awe over what cool things have been done to old buildings, or I'll be an expert voice in what can be done to these old buildings to hold on to them. Also, just growing a legacy with like encouraging other people to get into different revenue streams, real estate, construction, businesses. It's the same thing, but just having a bigger scope and doing it on a world level instead of a local level. I'm just grateful to be here, and I have an amazing husband who's a miracle. And so every day matters. And I would love to just be able to be passionate about what's important to me and then give back in the same way. So it's like cool buildings, homes, helping people, just bringing out the best in people, encouraging them to do what it is that their hearts desire and see what happens.
Awesome. Amber, you are amazing. I have no doubt that big things are ahead for you guys and will continue to be successful for you guys, and especially with what you're doing on the remodel side and everything you just said too. So, um, bright future ahead. I can just see the passion. I hear the passion. That's why I love having guests like you on this show. So, thank you for coming on. It's been an honor to have you.
Thank you very much, Bill. This has been a lot of fun.
Where can people find and connect with you before we wrap up?
We're online, Instagram, KohlerHaus Remodeling Co. We've got a Facebook group as well, KohlerHaus Remodeling Co. We're local in the Tampa area. I'm personally same thing on Instagram and Facebook, Amber Boskers. And then also I have a course coming, so boskerscapital.com.
Nice.
So you can check out the things that we're involved in on both the business side and the personal side. And yeah, it's just really awesome to be here and to be able to leave a legacy, to help others leave a legacy too.
Awesome. No, like I said, I have no doubt. I'm definitely gonna check that out. So I'll link all this too, as well, so other people can take a look. But I appreciate your time. I appreciate you coming on. Another amazing show. So thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Bill. Grateful
And with
for this.
Yeah, of course. And with that being said, thank you all for listening. Obviously, like, subscribe, comment, share. This goes a long way. Share with all your friends and families. And 5-star reviews on iTunes goes a long way because that's what this one deserves. And we will see you guys on the next episode.